So this last news story here, Walmart has been taking down all traces of aggressive and violent demos and displays of all forms of entertainment. That includes video games, obviously. This move was in response to the recent mass shootings that had happened near some of their stores, and it's been getting a lot of traction because the retailer still sells guns. And I've seen this story plastered everywhere on the internet. I cannot get away from it. What are your thoughts here? And I don't think we have to dive into like the mass shootings or anything that's like super political, but I think that I feel like personally, I'd rather almost have them do nothing because I feel like this doesn't. It literally doesn't do anything.
It caters to
that was my problem.
I think as gamers, I think you could talk to every person who plays games is going to sit there and tell you no. You know, there are studies done that don't support this claim. Like every time they do it, there's no relation at all to violence and violent acts in real life. And I think, and you could ask any gamer out there and they go, no, never really thought about going outside and committing any sort of crime based on what I was doing in a video game. I think anybody can agree on that. That's, you know, especially among people like us, like the
that's
hardcore gamers.
True. You know,
period.
Sorry to cut you off there, Josh. The more I think about this, the more I really don't. I don't care one way or the other whether they remove it or not, but showing more, I guess, responsible ways to use firearms and things like that. That's, you know, totally a plus in my book. I don't think it's going to affect me or anybody else one way or the other, whether they have violent displays up in the stores or anything else. And there's nothing inherently violent about looking at a gun, you know, that's for sale at a store or anything like that. So do I think it's stupid? Do I think it's going to, you know, save any lives or anything like that? Probably not. But I can understand where they're coming from, and I semi-support what they're doing.
You made a point in a previous podcast, Wolf, that's like, look at John Wick. Everybody eats that shit up.
Yeah, you're right.
Nobody looks at a movie like John Wick and goes, well, I really want to go stab some guy in the eye with a pencil.
Yeah, I'm not.
Wick. You know, yeah. Nobody.
I agree with you 100% there.
It was just like violent advertising that they removed, right? Mm-hmm. Or anything gun related. And I think, yeah, it's just kind of a PR move. I don't, I mean, I don't believe that they actually believe it's going to really help, but I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. You just get rid of some posters here and there and stuff. I don't think that really matters much, but yeah, we have to discuss this next week on the Chompcast. So I am not, it's such a delicate subject. You know what I mean? But in response to the Walmart thing, I feel like when you're that big, you have to do something as like a PR move, but there's nothing you can really do. You can't really stop selling guns. You can't stop selling video games to some degree, but you want to do something. I feel like when these horrible things happen on any level, like we just want to do something to change it, even if it's small, right? And I think that's their PR way of getting out there and saying, hey, it helps in some small way. We're, as a show of what's going on, we're going to remove violent advertisements.
And I think you're kind of damned if you do anything, if you're a giant corporation like that in response, because people are going to find ways to bitch about whatever you do PR wise.
Yeah, you're always going to make, you're never going to make everybody happy. You're always going to piss off a faction of people no matter what you do. And then my overall point is, and not to get like super political or anything, it's just everybody tries to, you know, they try to blame like either, you know, gun laws or video games or violent movies, blah, 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 blah. But I think a lot of people miss the mark. Like there's other problems in our society that I think may be contributing to violence. Like for me, one thing, like prescription drugs and everything, like think about that shit. You watch a fucking commercial and it's like, this will fix your fucking whatever, but you might have suicidal thoughts and fucking blow off your head, like literally in the commercial. And like maybe like people on all this shit, maybe that's part of the problem, you know? Or maybe like people like being divorced and not having a normal family life and like not having a dad or not having a mom or whatever. Maybe that contributes to it. You know, I think there's other things that people don't want to like talk about that may be a contributing factor to like what we're seeing.
I tweeted about this exact thing, Dave, and they, you know, I think I can't quote myself here, but I think it's just a way, you know, these you see these politicians on, it seems like Fox News seems to be the big one that's really, against this violent, games thing, where you see most of these clips coming from. But I think it's just exactly what you said. It's a way to distract people from real issues that need addressed.
Mm-hmm. I also think that, and I've been kind of formulating this take as well, and then I'll shut up, I promise. But I feel like, sorry, I ramble a lot, so I apologize for your podcast. I feel like the thing I've been formulating a lot, because I've been thinking about this for weeks, I haven't been able to tweet about it or say anything about it because it's just a complex issue. And I think for me, it's that a lot of these incidents, they're a perfect storm of circumstances in these people's lives. It's from their political views to maybe their psychological health to a mixture of maybe their, like a lot of serial killers could have failed with the opposite sex, whether they're into male or females, it doesn't matter. It's proven that in a lot of cases, they just could not get along with the opposite sex or attention. Like there's so many factors that create these things, and usually it's a perfect storm, because even though there's been more, like we're in the US and there's been more mass shootings in the US than days so far, which is crazy. They're still technically rare outlier kind of events, because there's sort of a confluence of a lot of things happening at once in this individual that makes them want to go out and take human lives. And I think that's why it's so difficult to narrow this down and fix it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that was really well said. I think you have to be in a really, really dark place to do something like that. And I think, like you said very well, that it's not just one thing. You can't just point to video games. It's like 10 different things in somebody's life that brings them to that point over years and years. But let's wrap the show there. I think that's a great stopping point. Morgan, again, thank you very much for coming on. That was a lot of fun. It was really nice just getting a chance to sit down and talk to you. Anybody listening, if you haven't checked out Morgan or the Sword Chomp guys, they're a great group. They put on a good show every week. Like Morgan said, they never miss. We will put all of the links to Morgan's Twitter and Instagram and all of Sword Chomp stuff below this video if you're interested. But thank you guys again, and hopefully we'll see you next week.